Welcome to our show, Family Matters. I'm honored to be here every Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, where we meet to discuss the matters of the family, because the family matters to God and to each one of us. When God created the family, He has a design in His plan. The plan is every family should be a church. And COVID had really tested that plan very much. And unfortunately, many of us failed the design to be a church in the eyes of God. When the churches were closed, we panicked. Although the design of God that each house, each family is a church, we should have continued as if nothing is happening. Of course, we missed the sacraments, but we should not have missed the presence of God among our families, the pillars of God on earth, the church that you have in your own household. I chose for you today a topic that I believe it's very dear and very needed to every single family, whether your kids are 4 years old or 24 years old. Because the topic of the digital generation or the smartphone generation is a topic that increased hundreds of folds over the last 10 years. In 2015, compared to 2020, there is 40% increase in the number of smartphones used in household. If you compare 20 years ago, there is billions and billions of smartphones and tablets are now available in every household. And of course, it's a blessing in many times. Now you know if your child is going to be delayed, your husband cannot come on time, or you have to rush to the doctor, you can tell each other what's happening. Phones allow to have a computer in your pocket. You can know many things. You can read the Bible. You can praise God. And you can also text your kids to tell them, I love you. However, to the groups that listening to me now, the cons, the disadvantages are not to be ignored. So I want to start by saying, to what extent phones should be allowed in our children's hand. And I want to share with you some research that's published, and I would like to use scientific research more or less. In today's parent website, a very good website that you can watch, there was an article about age to age guide regarding smartphones. And I want to say it out loud and clear from now. The ages of 6-year-old and less should not have phones. If it's up to me, they should not have a screen time, period. They should have Play-Doh. They should have some of those building blocks. They should paint. They should read. They should run in a bike. They should do many things, but rather than watching a screen. There are some research to indicate that there are certain damage to the developing brains by watching certain number of hours of screens, whether it's a tablet, iPhone, or even TV. And the 6-year-old and younger are the most vulnerable. So for those of you who wants to stand in liturgy and they get offended or annoyed because the child wants to be fidgety, and they give them a phone to play, and I see it in every liturgy and in almost every state. I beg you to bring one of those plastic books that they can, even while they are teething, they can pick on it. There's nothing wrong with that. Give them a book to color. Give them something without a noise to put together. But try to avoid the screen. Now, what happened after the age of 4 to 6? After the ages 4 to 6, from ages 7 to 9, there was a report in 2014 um, coming from Canadian children, grades 4, around 4 and 5, and some of the kids were 8-year-old. And basically, Chang was the author of that report, says that his advice for younger kids that applies to this age group: no phones. However, if some parents want their kids to have phones to keep in touch when they are away from home, he says an old school flip phone without internet access will do just fine. Those psychologists who wrote these articles, they are not backward. They just know that there is no point of giving internet to a 9-year-old, a 7-year-old. I want to almost alarm you by saying that the incidence of porn visits by young kids, 9-year-old, is actually creeping up. Not because of need to do sex, but rather curiosity. And I really urge you, 7 to 9, if they may have to have a phone, you must limit the internet in these phones. Texting is fine, phones are fine, but why do you have an internet? Why do they have to browse? There's no point. You can have a couple of games, you can text, and so on. I read an article in New York Times speaking about the late Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs is the founder of Apple. And if you look up, I think it was 2014, New York Times article says Steve Jobs has a low-tech family. And he does not allow his kids to have an iPad in his house during dinner time. There was a whole research about what's happening to the Western countries, and Japan was included in that article as well, about the time of dinner and what is happening now compared to 20 years before. And I want to warn you and warn the parents and children that the dinner time was supposed to, dad is exploring what happened to him. Mom's talking about how her day went and how God was with her. The kids want to speak about who bothered them and if they were bullied and how the school teacher and who is the new friend and if they were beaten. Unfortunately, there is an article that says 56% of American families are using phones during dinner time. This article, although it's non-Christian, it's very secular, goes to speak so much about the disconnect that's happening among family members only because of the loss of connections or connectedness during dinner time. Dinner time is when you put your phones far from the dinner table. You put it away from your reach as a dad and as a mom before you ask your children. There was an article that children commented that their parents are using the texting and the browsing during dinner time. Can you imagine? We are becoming a spectacle to our children, and it's not a good role model. So one of the things I will keep repeating today, dinner time must be sacred, because this is the time you, your wife, your kids are going to interact, to socialize, to discuss, to hear, and to listen and to speak about what happened during the day. According to this article, American dinner used to take 45 minutes average. Now it's taking 22 minutes. And I'm wondering how many of those minutes are spent in silence because each one of us is checking his or her own messages, emails, whatever. I want to move to the ages beyond 7 and 9. Okay, so ages 10 to 12, the same article that I spoke of, they are still would limit the internet usage for those young ages, 10 to 12. We cannot say no internet. They will be looking very different than other children. But if you can, that's your call as a leader of the family. But when it comes to the screen in general, excess screen time is definitely associated with unhealthy habits. There was a big article during the COVID year that there is an average of 15 pounds weight gain per teenager during the COVID year only because kids are watching and playing video games and eating junk food. So the phone allowed them to grow a bad habit. There is also another article during the COVID year called the sleepy eye syndrome. And what the authors have written that during the COVID year, teens were using the screen time sometimes 8, 12, 14 hours a day. So they developed lazy eyes. And eventually the number of our teens are going to require eyeglasses and changing their eyeglasses and weakening of their visual acuity, unfortunately, is going to rise. All of this because of our phones. They also spoke about back pain and neck pain because the kid is doing this and he's hunched up, hunched down, his neck is down, he's always looking. So not only his eyes, but his back. And I can tell you, I am very concerned about this generation growing up in 10 years. They have not been playing basketball and volleyball and football and soccer and other things. And unfortunately will grow because of the number of hours in the phone with bad backs. I can tell you a lot of us Egyptians who did not learn how to exercise a lot because we were always asked to study so much, not as bad as the phones, but still we were sitting too long. A lot of Egyptians are going to pain management and all of this because of back problems. I'm very scared that your kids will suffer what you may be suffering, not because of they are studying too long, I wish they are, but because they are sitting on the phone too long. I also want to get to the point of the screen time in the teenagers and how does it affect other things. Remember, your kid who is watching a video game or texting or doing Fortnite, playing with another group or playing one of those internet video games, which I'm sure we'll talk about it on another Saturday. Remember, he's playing with people he doesn't know. Sometimes they play with a credit card. Sometimes they buy things. And more importantly, they get into what we call today an anxiety for teens. Teens and anxiety is on the rise, unfortunately, thanks to the phone. Because the phone is making this girl who is sitting in liturgy all of a sudden get an Instagram. Another girl is wearing whatever type of clothes and she's showing off that she's on the beach. And the poor girl, she's still in the liturgy for the next 2 hours. What do you think this girl should feel? She received an Instagram for a girl wearing a bathing suit exactly the time that she is in her Sunday school or in school or in a family gathering. So the phone is causing anxiety. The phone is causing low self-esteem. Go and find me any girl on Instagram, Facebook, any social media that is fat or has a bad hair or has acne on her face. So our kids who are normal and have changes in hormones, he may not muscular, she may not too pretty, she may be a little heavy, and all of a sudden she is seeing so much beautiful young ladies and young men, and she feels low self-esteem thanks to the phone. So I gave my boys and girls a device that's supposed to raise their intelligence, help them to research well, help them to find the Bible and the Igbeya and the praises, which are good. But all of a sudden, the same device became a tool for anxiety, a tool for depression, a tool for low self-esteem, a tool for visiting sexual sites, a tool for video game addiction. So what are we going to do? I received this message that I would like to read for you. Very interesting, and I really thank the sister who sent it from Connecticut. Parents are trying really hard to postpone telephone usage. Many parents are also putting limits on older kids' cell phone time. However, I have seen a rise in teachers and schools getting involved and telling the parents that they are basically not allowed to do this. I have seen a case in Connecticut where a child had social services get involved over cell phone usage. What are parents supposed to do? And what are the correct ages of starting a child on a cell phone? What do you do if you just don't want to give your child a phone, but you know that they feel completely left out because of all of their friends texting each other all the time? Thank you for the question, and I think I answered some of her queries regarding when to start the cell phone. However, I want to get to the point of, I want to call it the parent-teen dynamics. When you and I were growing up, there was a certain respect and fear of the rules that my dad, my mom are putting in their house, and I must abide with the rules. I am very concerned that parents now are getting to a point where they are feeling they are not in charge anymore. They are not the leaders of the house anymore. God have given you the stewardship, the responsibility of your own children. How can you relent that and say, I'm scared not to do what they want because they will be left out? Let me just tell you, there are so many generations and so many ethnic groups, whether Muslims, Jews, conservative Italians, some of the very conservatives, American, Catholic Americans, are doing exactly what we are talking about. The myth that your child sometimes bring, which is called everybody does it, is just a lie and a myth. If your child starts screaming and losing her temper and say you are backward, you are um, very tyrant and everybody does it, why I'm the only one who's doing this, please go back and tell that kid, I am here to raise you. You are the only responsibility that I care about in this life. And hence, there are certain rules you must abide with, and I will abide with as well. And I want to give your child a message, and I want you to use that analogy. You have a company that you have your phone on, And this company, let's call it whatever, Bellphone. I don't want to use any company name. When you sign an agreement, when you sign a contract, you get 2, 3 phones, you get 1,000 texts, you get free, I know what, minutes, and you get certain number of gigabytes of cellular data. What happens when you exceed them? They send you a warning, they charge you, and you must pay. What happens if you decide, I'm not paying? They warn you, they cancel your contract. You don't have a phone anymore, and you still must pay. If you, as a parent, have 5 phones to your own family, 2 of them or 3 of them to your children, and you are signing a contract on the behalf of your children with Bellphone, why is it too wrong for you to come back because you are subleasing the phones to your children and tell them, listen, guys, I am signing an agreement with the company. You have to sign an agreement with me. You want the phone? No problem. I want to give you a phone because you need a phone, you deserve a phone, and actually, it's my pleasure to give you a phone. But like me, I'm under rules. You must have rules. By the way, your children, although may like to bargain, stretch the rule, stretch the leash, twist some ideas and regulations, they respect the rules. When they are in school and there is something about the phone cannot be used, and if they find they will be in detention, they follow that rule. Somehow, at home or in the church, they may not follow that rule because we don't have the same discipline, maybe. So you come back to that boy or girl of yours and you talk to them in respect, in love, and in honor of them growing up to deserve. Now he is 10 years old, he needs a phone. I agree with you, you need a phone. And I will post an agreement that you should consider. I'm not saying you should use, but I can tell you many parents are happy to use it today. And I must say I modified from many sources, so I think you like it, and we will post it in the comments of CYC Facebook page, that this agreement will allow you to put some regulations. Should they be broken, there must be a consequence. Like you, when you break the rule with Bellphone. Some of the things I want to say to you about this agreement that when they looked at parents who monitored teens online, they found that 61% checked websites visited, 60% checked social media accounts, 48% looked at calls and text, 39% looked at unused parental controls online, and 16 tracked teens' location on cell phone. This came from a Pew Research Center, 2017, for ages between 13 and 17 years old. You are not different than these parents. These parents happen to check their websites on the phones of their children. These parents have the right to check their social media accounts. And this, by the way, are not exactly Orthodox Christians. This is secular data published on very well website by the Pew PEW Research Center. Please follow it, and there is a lot of good data there. So, what I'm trying to say by this, please do not think you are the only parent who is suffering with his kid, or your kid is the only kid that he is going to lose his temper or become very angry because you are putting some guidelines against them. Some of the things that I like to ask my child to sign on. In the agreement, you will read that you will tell your child, I respect your freedom, but I also want you to respect the responsibility that I'm giving you. By me giving you a phone, that means I respect your freedom, but you in turn respect the responsibility that I have entrusted in you. Number two, with that responsibility and with the amount of data, the number of messages, the number of minutes and calls, you are free to use. However, you need to follow and you need to sign to say, yes, I agree in using the phone, provided. Number one, I will share my phone's password with my parents that they may use it to check my phone at any time. I know many teenagers may not like me for this. But let me speak to the teenagers before I speak to the parents. I know of a young girl who was being bullied by cyberbullying, and she was 16 years old. Cyberbullying attacks you can't imagine. A guy who was calling her, two guys were calling her bad names, and two of so-called friends were really mocking her, bullying her, and the poor girl were losing weight. She would start to cut herself because she was under a lot of anxiety and depression. And you know what? She attempted suicide. When the police finally opened her phone, they found so many obnoxious messages that if her mom had the courage to tell her, show me the messages, she could have saved this girl from going downhill in that track. How do you feel as a mom or as a dad when your boy or girl are being bullied, exposed, harassed, and you don't know? As a teenager, don't you want somebody to help you? Should somebody is trying to take advantage of you? Two, don't you want somebody bigger, more responsible, like a mom or a dad who only loves you and care you more than their own lives, to really check on who is befriending you and which sites you are visiting so they can make sure you don't go in a direction that you may lose your academic performance, you may lose even your eternal life. If you were a teenager, wouldn't you give gladly your phone to your mom or dad and to tell them, I would like you to keep an eye on me? And believe me, if you are a teenager listening to me and a girl has a crush on you, you think your mom or dad will not understand that and will harass you or will hurt you for this. They also had their own crushes when they were 14 and 15. There is nothing wrong with crushes. Nothing wrong with that. But there is a lot of things wrong when you move about things like that and you want to act on them and you would like to have someone to have your back while you're being bullied, while you're being harassed, while you're being sexted, while you're being hurt by bad words, why somebody is trying to to ask you to do wrong things. The second thing I like my teenagers to initials and sign on when I give them the agreement, that I will not send any bad text to others. As a Christian boy or girl, even as a healthy boy or girl, you should not be bullied, but you are not allowed to harass or bully anyone. Should you do this, I, your dad, have the right to discipline you. And it's up to your own biological dad to say, if you break any of these, I'm going to take the phone for a week, 2 days. It's up to them. I'm not going to tell you what to do. One of the things I like my kids to sign on in the agreement, if I find my grades or GPA are deteriorating, and I, as a dad, consider that your usage of the phone has been higher than normal, I have the right to tell you, my teenager, I'm taking the phone for a certain number of days. Not because I hate you. Believe me, you are more important than my life. But your performance in this life is more important to me than my life too. So I want you to be successful here and in eternal life. So if I have to take difficult measures like this, believe me, it's not because as a dad I fancy them or I love them or I feel good because I crushed you. On the contrary, when I cause an affliction on you, my little son, I feel worse than you. And believe me, your parent is like me. If they have to punish you by taking the phone and you feel bad, don't think they are feeling victorious and celebrating. They feel bad because at that time you are feeling bad. But as I have worked with so many teenagers, and because that's the age I love, many of them, when I tell them I'm going to ask your dad to take the phone from you for a week, some of them, their eyes brighten and say, please do. I want to be free for a week. I am miserable. I'm going to porn like crazy. I am watching things that I don't want to watch. My grades are dropping. I wish my dad can be tough on me and take the phone. So I'm speaking to both parents and children because that's the dynamics we have. So also, I would warn my daughter and my son, if I give you the phone, you have to also sign in the agreement that you are not to use the phone or text or do anything either after a certain hour or a certain place. For example, if we are in liturgy and I find in my statement you are using the phone so much, I'm going to warn you, and if you do continue the same way, I have the right to discipline you, and the discipline could be taking the phone from you for a week. As a parent, I'm suggesting that. Your parent may say one day, my parent will say 2 weeks. That's their family, your family. But I'm suggesting to you, when you sign the agreement with your parent, that you sign it with the knowledge that you have the right to use the phone except not after certain hours, let's say 10 p.m. I don't know, it's up to your parents. Not in school and not in dinner time and not, for example, in church time. And I hope as my daughter or my son, you don't think this is too harsh, do you? Uh, can I ask you something? If you are watching a movie and it's very one of those your loved movies, Harry Potter, I know, whatever you like, and all of a sudden the guy next to you, he keeps getting chirping in his phone every now and then message. Don't you get annoyed because he's using it in a cinema? What about the angels filling the church? The cherubim who are full of eyes and they see everything. And they see all the phones that are being used in not really the right time. And I'm, with all respect to parents, please do not think you're out of the hook. We are not great role models when it comes to dinner, church. I think we ought to do better than this, unless you are waiting for an emergency, or you are on call, or your phone should not be come out of your pocket, because your child is watching you with very large, beautiful eyes. He's eating you, knowing, are you going to respond? Are you going to take the phone? Maybe he will tell you, Mom, it's liturgy, because he heard us talking about it. Okay, what else in the agreement? Let me just see. There is one comment just came. I'll just answer it and we'll go back. How can I open a conversation with my 14-year-old that can't leave the phone from his hand? He's always liked to stay at his room by himself playing games on his phone. He becomes very aggressive when I ask him to stay with us. What if he refuses to sign the agreement? Okay, of course, the earlier the better to start this. But in my opinion, when you do what I'm asking you to do, you are doing it because you are saving your son who is 14-year-old. In my opinion, your son should have a discussion like the way I'm talking. Don't be aggressive, don't be loud, don't be harsh. Show him research that long phones affect the eyes, affect the brain, affect the neck, affect the posture, affect the muscles, increase the weight. 2, find out about his academic performance. It could be the same at 3. Tell him, listen, I am bound with an agreement. You like it or you don't. You need to be bound with an agreement. Of course, one of you may say, my son works and he can pay for his phone. To tell you the truth, then you are only able to tell him what is healthy and what's right as a dad, as a mom. But if you, and I hope you are, the one still in charge of your house, in a decent, respectful discussion like the one we are having between you and your teenager, because I have been talking to teenagers most of the time today, not to parents. I will tell this son, my darling, I care about you. I'm concerned about your eyes and the number of hours. Look at the research about lazy eye syndrome. Look at your weight. I am very concerned because you are not playing sports. Your muscles will weaken and you may be liable to gain weight. 3, you are not going out, you are not socializing, and you may even forget how to mingle with people. 4, I will tell him that some of the things that may you spend time in eventually will be very addictive and you can't stop it. Look, Habibi, how many hours you have been on. I will also must, as a parent, you cannot just say that and ask for agreement without doing what we call replacement therapy. Replacement therapy, you as a dad must have had given your son something in exchange with the 4 hours he spent on his phone. For example, I need a good gym, pay the membership for the next 6 months, go with your son, go with your daughter. $35 a month, you're saving your son's life. Go with him. Buy these protein shakes he wants. Let him build his muscles. Let her be happy with her body. Let her buy this, I know, the stretch clothes that she likes to wear so she can look good. Let her work out. Get her a trainer. Work with her in the gym. Bike with him. Surf if you are in a state that's surfing. Go fishing with him. Include him in an art class. Include him in a music class, in a dance class, in a new language class, any hobby. There is a science clubs that people, please guys, we are in the country that has the most resources to build our teenagers. We cannot just stay idle and say, I cannot do anything. He's aggressive. He's aggressive because he's becoming addictive. He's aggressive because I didn't give him an option to do something else, maybe. Third, he's aggressive because maybe he wants friends and the friends were not too good to him. Four, maybe you want to get a group of boys and girls and make a pizza party in your basement or in your backyard and let them play, and so they can connect with him and tell him, tomorrow you're coming with us to this. Find whatever summer camp in the church or in a school or in a college near you. We need to have a comprehensive plan. These phones should not take kids away from us and from God. Believe me, there was an analogy one time. The phone was left on a table and the Bible next to it. Somebody wrote this. And there was a discussion between the phone and the Bible. So the Bible told the phone, see, my boss forgot you too. So the phone said, let's wait and see how long it's going to take until he comes and pick me up. But look how long you have been left here and he never picked you up. And the phone was correct. The kid rushed to pick up the phone after 2 minutes of losing his third hand, and the Bible was left untouched. I wonder if we need to talk more about kids. Talk science. Don't talk aggression. Talk evidence. Don't talk, I told you so. Talk conviction. Don't talk, I am your dad and I know what's right. We are not in a generation where the dynamics anymore happens to be you are the boss of everything. You need to win the argument by love, by respect, by conviction, by scientific data, by evidence, and hence you have and then a replacement, something else to produce, to take his pressure in. I want to go back to what I was saying, what your son and daughter will be signing on. And I have a lot to do, but if I don't finish them, I will definitely post the agreement that I would like you to modify. Please do not use what I'm saying. Maybe your son or daughter will say, Dad, that's too much. I don't want you to write this. No problem. This is just a guidance, a suggestion, a recommendation. How about this? I am willing to go over my monthly minutes and text messages limits. And if I exceed my limits, I will be warned that I need to correct it for the month after. Every month, you need to have a meeting with your son or daughter. Let me tell you why. Because you, when you pay for Bell Phone, they go through the statement with you. You say you have to pay $25. You called international 3 times. Next month, you're paying the same minimum payment. So you tell your son the same thing. I am going through monthly statements. I need to go with your monthly statements. And you show him the monthly statement. One of the things I find it very important, and believe me, when I talk to teenagers and young college kids, they tell me, I wish somebody do that with us. Find the phone number that gets so much repetition. And if you don't know who is this, ask your daughter, who is that number that messaging you in school after 11 p.m. and who is that person? How good is that friend? And what are you guys talking about? Habibti, I'm not here to intervene in your life, but I am your mom and I care and I'm worried. Mom, what are you talking about? Just a friend, don't worry about it. No, you cannot tell me don't worry about it. I am responsible for you. You are the most important person in my life. God will ask me, how did I raise you? Did I allow others to snatch you away from His hands? So please tell me. Just give me comfort. Show me some of these texts that this person is sending after 11 p.m. and 20 times a day. If you find a repetitive number, you, as the owner of the statement and the payment of the phone, has the right to learn and know who and why. Another point, if you find the data are being used so much, you can find actually where the data is being used. Sometimes your son is so innocent and he's using the data to do research and to read something and to listen to some nice music or even songs. That's fine. But sometimes it's adult videos. Why, as a dad, you have not put restrictions on your son's phone? I can tell you, lately in the church that I have the privilege to serve in, many, and I'm telling you many, every day in the summer camp, come to me, Uncle, can you put a password for me? I don't want to enter this anymore. I love those boys because to me they are braver than me, more saintly than myself 100%, and they are in the eyes of God martyrs. Martyrs. And if you are one of those teenagers who is willing to go to your dad or abuna or uncle or mom or anyone, mom, can you please put a password and put a restriction, something called content restriction? You will be the bravest man I have ever seen. I will respect you like you are the real creature of God. You know why? Because you have the right to do it behind my back, but you chose not to. And you are putting an obstacle, not just for you, but for the enemy to come and make you do it. That's why I respect you and I love you. And I'm very proud of you. So I want you to know and to review the statement with your daughter or son. Now, one of the things that must be discussed, I will alert my parents when I receive suspicious or alarming phone calls or text messages or sexting. I want your daughter to sign, to initial that item. I don't think she will mind because you have to tell her, Habibti, I trust you, 100% I trust you, but I don't trust the people around you. There are so many weird people that evil is using them to hurt you. And I want to protect you. How can I protect you with me not knowing what's coming to you? I want you to promise me and to initiate the agreement that should you receive a threatening message, a message that's compelling you or obliging you to do something yet you don't want to do. Third, as a request for sexting, and if you are a parent and you don't know, unfortunately your teenagers know. Sexting is a criminal offense. It's more than a demeanor because it's across states. Basically, I am a 17-year-old boy, sent a text message to your girl, to your daughter, because I showed some care and love and I told her I love her and she's the only girl in my life, and if she really loves me, she needs to send me some photos because I can't sleep without seeing her. She sent me some pictures. I said, no, I need more than that. And unfortunately, some of our innocent girls fall in this trap. And unfortunately, 86% of sexting goes unattended, unknown. Nobody knows about it. That's why you need to take care of your daughter. You need to know. Ask her, is anyone, Habibti, is asking you to send them something you don't want to send? Habibti, you have the right to say no. Your body is the temple of God. Your body can never be unveiled. It's only for the right person in the right time, like the priest opening the veil of the altar. Not anyone can do it, but in the same time, you as a mom, be ready to listen and do not lose temper if God forbid something like this happen. The same for threatening messages, bullying messages. I want you as a parent to make your child feel you have her back. Some parents blame the kid when they receive bullying messages, say, you deserve it. You are not protecting yourself. You should be a man. You should fight. Come on. Your son is the victim. Do not make him as if he is the wrong person. It's the worst thing you do to your son or daughter. Protect them. Go and defend them. Go to the principal and tell them that this school should be a bully-free zone. And your son will take a breath in and say, oh, mom went with me. I feel good. And all of this because she showed you her phone. I know of a girl one time that she went home and some of the buttons were ripped and and her mom was angry at her. How come she she went into a fight and ripped this, and how can she do this, and why is she fighting at school? And the girl was crying like a baby. Thank God her dad was much more wiser. Later on, when he found out, he went to her room and he told her, what happened? I know you never fight without a reason. And this girl was offended because of her not the best American accents. She was put down by some of the girls, mocked, sort of told names and bad names. She fought for her life. And when she fought, they ripped her clothes. So after all, the mom thought she is the offender, but she was the victim. Don't rush. Some of these things we don't know until we sit and hear. Some of the rules that you will see in the file I'm going to upload later, that I will not use my phone to buy or download anything without taking permission. And I'm saying this, and I beg you to please talk to your sons and daughters about it. One day I'll be talking about video games. Some of Fortnite and other games, your son feels compelled to buy something, tools of the game, weapons, I know what, in order for him to gain the upper hand. The problem is he or she may not know the extent of the payment. And if you give them or they take the green card, the card, and they don't know, you don't know what's being happening. Sometimes they want to download an app for maybe for nothing, $3. And the app could be something very good. But please do not allow them to use it unless you know what app is this. Unfortunately, there are plenty of apps. Some of them, unfortunately, are free. But plenty of apps which needs money are dirty apps. And apps can hook your son or daughter to something that will take work from you to get them out of it. I am not sure if I helped you today or not. There are a lot I can talk about, but I want to summarize a few things before I close. The phone is very important, and I'm not here to make you fight with your kids, and I'm not here, my sons and daughters, to make your parents attack you. Last thing in my mind, never. I am here to improve the dynamics between the parents and the teens. I am here to help you plan your future together in a better, healthy, and spiritual way. I am here to show you the pathway for you that in the future, one day your son or daughter will thank mom or dad because they took the phone for that time, and during that time, she started to regain better friends, regain better performance in schools. I received a question, something unrelated to this topic. I'm going just to mention it now, but I may not respond to it completely. And I'm going to modify the question. My daughter is bisexual, and I want to say, without responding fully to the question, that one day, maybe very soon, I will try to do it next week, to speak about sexual confusion, sexual identity confusion. I can tell you many of our kids who are in their teen age and they think they are gays or lesbians. Many of them, I don't want to say all of them, many of them are not gays or lesbians, but they are more sexually confused. There is something called sexual experimentation that's very common during this age. Girls experimenting with girls, boys experimenting with boys, and after the end, a boy may think he is gay and the girl may think she is lesbian. Or what we call sexual fluidity, the fluid meaning between boy and girl, girl to boy, and so on. Without going too long in this because the topic is different, I promise I will answer it next time, but I urge you please to keep praying for your sons and daughters, especially those who are confused. Ask them, please do not call yourself this gender or this gender yet. What can happen if you wait a little bit? When you choose a major, you wait sometimes a year. You want to change your sexual identity immediately in a month? Let's wait. Let's pray. Let's talk about it. Take time. A lot of my boys and girls who are sexually confused, when they need time and they talk about it and they change phases from 11th grade to 12th grade or from 12th grade to first year of college, and all of a sudden their eyes are different and they're seeing themselves different. Of course, some of them will continue to be gays and some of them will continue to be lesbians, but there is a good number in this small age, unfortunately, are confused, and the society and the schools are not helpful. Again, coming back to the smartphone generation, parent-teen dynamics, I hope I touched in some of the important things that you as a mom, as a dad, as a boy, a son, or a daughter, understand the value of talking to each other about how to design the use of your smartphone. We are not here to fight over we are not using it. No, it's going to stay. But the method and the attitude and the responsibility towards using it are the things that we need to plan together. And together is the word. Very important. You as a parent, you as a child, together plan how to use your phone. Even your dad need to not use the phone in liturgy and during dinner. You likely have to have some rules because your dad have rules. You as a mom have to tell your daughter the rules, but you mom have to also respect the rules. After all, you both need to earn kingdom of God. And in kingdom of God there will be no phones. There will be praises. There will be beautiful times. There will be amazing, amazing people to meet, and the the person of our Lord Jesus Christ to spend time with. I am worried that this phone is taking so much from us. We need to use it well and right, responsibly and without deception. We should be aware if we use it wrong, we confess and we say, I am addicted to this. I need help in this. You give the phone to somebody, put content restriction password. I need help. I need an accountable person to follow me. And you, mom and dad, give me a replacement. Give me something to do. You are upset that I'm spending all these hours. Include me in something. But something I want, not you want. Something I like, not you desire. I really hope that I benefited you today. If I didn't, I apologize. If I did, I thank God for that. Again, this means that we will meet next Saturday, if God wills, at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, when we all direct our eyes to the family and its matters. Have a good week.